Hey folks, thanks so much for checking into the Neutral Zone Hotel. We are an unapologetically left-leaning podcast that explores hockey at its best and worst. My name's Benjamin, my pronouns are he, him, and I'm thrilled to bring you along to the Neutral Zone Hotel today. I am here to ensure your stay is a memorable one, are a couple of my colleagues. So we got SJ.
Hey, I am SJ. I am a Seattle Kraken fan, hailing from the beautiful city of Seattle.
And we've got Trevor.
Hey everybody, it's Trevor. My pronouns are he, him, the regretful hometown Vancouver Canucks fan.
Hey man, I don't know why you're regretting. Rick Tocchet's going to stay an extra year, and it's been going great, hasn't it?
If you had asked me, if you mentioned this last year, that might be a different answer, but it's also April Fool's Day, so for all I know, you're just pranking me right now.
No pranks. This isn't coming out on April Fool's Day. And folks, we want to introduce our special guest who's come along to talk about the recent PWHL Takeover game in St. Louis. I'd like to introduce everybody to Will. Say hi, Will.
Hey there, I'm Will. I'm from Central Louisiana. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure to have you along. So we'll just jump right into it. So on the weekend, the PWHL had their 9th and final takeover game of the year. It was in St. Louis at the Enterprise Center, featuring the Ottawa Charge at the Boston Fleet. Good news is the beloved Ottawa Charge won 2-1. The bad news is it was looking real dicey for a long moment there, but we'll get into that a little bit. So what we've traditionally chatted about a little bit here, Will, as with our guests, is what the game experience is like. So obviously you had a little bit of a drive coming up from Central Louisiana, and was this your first time to Enterprise Center in St. Louis?
Yes, it was.
What did you think about the building?
It was nice. It was actually my first time in an NHL style rink. I only have a local team here in about an hour from me in Monroe, Louisiana, at a smaller civic center, so it was a good experience.
Now I want to hear all about hockey in Southern Louisiana.
We can do that at some point.
I just want to know.
I'm surprised you didn't ask the question I thought you were going to ask, SJ.
What was that?
You should ask if they have cup holders in Enterprise Center.
Oh, that's true. I bet they do. It being an American rink.
Yes,
they?
actually.
There you go.
Yeah. See, we do one thing better in America.
That's it. That's the one
That's the one thing.
So SJ came over to Ottawa for about a week and a half to 10 days. I don't remember. And we went to 9 hockey games.
Oh.
And there were 0 cup holders. And SJ complained at every single arena we went to that there were no cup holders.
Well, by the end, it was a bit, and I had to keep it up.
And I should point out, too, that's not even SJ's first foray to a hockey arena in Canada, because SJ and I have hung out at a Vancouver Canucks game, and once again, no cup holders. It wasn't
No
a bit
cup
then,
holders.
But it became
There
one.
are cup holders in the CTC, just not at the cheap seats. Yeah. So Enterprise Arena, you liked it. It was nice. What was the concourse like? Good size, lots of foods.
Yeah. They had a pretty good selection, different restaurants, different stations for drinks, that kind of thing.
Nice. Did you get any good arena food, or did you skip out?
All I really got was a beer. I was trying to watch my spending.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a beer. I mean, one beer, that's enough of an investment.
It really is. What about merchandising? Was there a lot of like team merch available? Because as we found out, as we roll through the cities, there's city-specific merchandise. Usually, like a shirt with like the city name and the skyline and a PWHL logo. Mm-hmm. But like, was there specific team merch at all, or?
Yeah, I went to both teams' open practices, and in the Blues merch store, they had a little section with like general PWHL merch, and then like the St. Louis specific stuff. And then on game day, they had a table set up with both Boston and Ottawa gear also.
SJ, you got screwed over.
I did.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, the Seattle Takeover game had very, very little merch. What was the open practices like? Where were they being held, and what sort of things did you see?
They were actually both at the same place, Enterprise Center, which kind of surprised me because I had seen it. A lot of the ones before it, they had done it at like the NHL team's practice rink, but it was like the other way across St. Louis. So I guess they figured it would be better to have it closer by. It was good. The turnout for the Boston one was a good bit more, which makes sense since it was on a Friday and it was the quote-unquote home team. But it was good. Lots of like local youth girl hockey players there interacting. Saw a girl ask like every single player as they got off the ice at the Ottawa, "Can I please have your stick?"
Hey, sticks are expensive.
No real surprise there.
Sticks are expensive.
Yeah,
you got to get your
that's
twig
pretty
somehow.
common.
It's like, I don't need this for the signature. I need this because I have to play hockey.
Exactly.
Can't
You're
afford
just
it.
making an investment for 10 years in the future when you'll be able to actually be the size for that stick.
That's right. You got to invest.
That's right.
And she actually ended up getting Terralova's stick.
Ooh.
Wow.
And that's basically what she said. I guess maybe some girls on my side of the railing was like, "That's no fair. We didn't get a stick." And she was like, "You don't know. Maybe when I'm older, I'll use this stick."
It's a smart kid right there.
Yeah.
She's not wrong. One of the things that struck me, so, you know, I'm a season ticket holder for the Charge, and I've been to a few Victoire games. And one of the things that has really struck me is the amount of attention the players give to the young girls, especially when they get the opportunity, when they're coming off the ice from the warm-ups, when they get a chance to do signings with them. The season ticket holder signing, or the post-game signings the first year were free for all, but since then they've been limited to invited youth only. And I just think that's better because honestly, like, it was always, you'd walk by and it'd be the same 50 super fans trying to get signatures. But for me, it should be the young girls who get them. That's part of what we're seeing here is we're seeing the growth of women's hockey at a grassroots level by inspiring young women. So I think that's such a cool and heartwarming story. Terralova is really cool. She's a great steady presence on the team. That's cool. The open practices. Yeah, that's a nice little add-on. There was no charge to that. It was just completely free.
Yep, it was. I believe it was like the first 100 fans also got to do autograph session.
Nice.
So I was able to get autographs from Jenner, Snodgrass, and Hughes from the Charge, and Frankel, Pelkey, and Saunier from Boston on a takeover puck that I bought.
Solid list. That's a solid squad.
Now,
right there.
I watched that game. I'm pretty sure her name is Jill Salner. And it's Aneta Terjalova.
Okay, every single takeover game has had some sort of PA muck up without fail. If I go back to watch like every intro or something like that, there's something where you can see a player just be like, "Did that just happen?"
Yeah, but I mean, that guy in St. Louis, I don't think he gave any fucks at all.
He definitely had a hangover. But
He's not used to working on a 1 o'clock on a Saturday.
no. I will admit too, because I've heard obviously of the open practice for other ones. I didn't even consider it for mine when they played in Vancouver. Maybe partially because the takeover in Vancouver was on a Wednesday night, so open practices would have been either Wednesday that afternoon or like the Monday, Tuesday. But man, that's such a great opportunity.
Yeah, it was a good time.
I sort of regret not going to the open practices when they came up to Seattle, but I think I was busy.
I got a life, SJ says.
A life or maybe a life.
Whoa.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I have a dog. That's true.
And then of course the most important thing, how was the game?
It was very tense, and then not so tense towards the end. I had, in preparation, I was like, I've never done this before, but I'm gonna make a sign and bring to a sporting event. And I just so happened to make one for Venishva, and I'm like, what are the odds that she gets both goals and wins the game?
What did your
She's been on a heater this year. It's been incredible.
Is so freaking cool. By far my favorite player, and it's not close. We also had a little bit of fun in our Discord server. Because Benjamin, you had to turn it off with about 5 minutes to go. And then you performed the noble sacrifice of not turning it back on, and I basically got to do live play-by-play for you.
Yeah, well, I turned it off, and then literally 20 seconds later, Trevor's like, Venishva scored. I'm like, oh no, that means I can't turn it back on, because I'll damn them if I do. So absolutely, it's me. I got them the win.
That's right.
No, that would be wrong. That would be wrong. I mildly helped. Teresa Vanishova did most of the work.
I think it was Will's sign. At least 20% the sign.
Yeah, 20%. 20% sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
What was the in arena like? Did they have a good host? Did they have fun games? Did you see any interesting signs?
Yeah, the guy who was emceeing seemed pretty good. They did a lot of stuff with the Jumbotron. The two things in the first intermission, they brought both the goals to the blue lines, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then out skate these like tiniest little girl players, and like the crowd was into it too, like it was the actual game. Like the goalie blocked like 4 shots in a row, and then the one girl finally got one past her, and it was like super loud.
It is the first intermission classic is little kid hockey, and it is the greatest. We love little kids, and you can especially when they have fun with it too. SJ, was it the game that we went to where like a little kid scored in the first during that intermission, did like a little like dance and like stick twirl or something like that? Or am I
do not recall.
It's been a while.
I have no idea. That was a long time ago, but
like,
yeah, the kids get into it. I also really enjoy watching them.
Mm-hmm.
They're adorable. The kids skating is always fun. So in Canada, there's a strong tradition of bringing Pee Wee hockey onto the ice, and it's generally sponsored by Tim Hortons. They call them Timbits, which of course is the name of the donut hole in Tim Hortons. Mm-hmm. And they're just little adorable kids skating around, falling over, and trying their best. But there have been some notable Timbits in the past. Emily Clark was a Timbit. Sidney Crosby was a Timbit. So it's a long and noble tradition.
Yeah, I guess I'm not used to, because I've only been to the minor league team that is close to me here, and of course it seems like now that this team, because this is the minor leagues team first season in the FPHL, and it seems like kids are actually starting to be like, oh, this is cool, I've never seen hockey before, I kind of want to play. So maybe it changes, but of course right now there's like not a lot of kids around that play to go out and do it, but maybe here in a couple years they'll be able to start that also.
One of the things that has always impressed me about hockey as a sport is that once people get exposed to the concept of it, once they sit down and watch a game or go to a game, there's always people who get caught up in it. It's fast, it's hard hitting, it's tough, it's exciting. For my dollar, which is 69 cents of your dollar, for my dollar, the best team sport in the world. And I love hearing that there are people in weird corners that are learning the game. And I want to say something. We owe a lot of this to Gary Bettman, because it's his strategy to move the game south into the southern United States that directly leads to the creation of the SPHL and the addition of more minor leagues and more minor league teams in that area. And Bettman's been a really big proponent of the PWHL as well, including urging the league to put a team in Ottawa. And what we know is, even in a place like Canada that's hockey mad, seeing people like you play the game drives people out. We saw that in Czechia when Czechia got bronze in the first time they got bronze, the Women's Worlds. Enrollment went up 3 times for women players in hockey in Czechia. We're seeing it in Canada right now. Huge boosts in girls enrolling. And I imagine we're going to see it in the United States, especially once the PWHL announces expansion and we see more teams come down there. So you're part of a broader piece. Yes, hockey is still not the most popular sport in the world or in the United States. But everywhere hockey goes, as long as they don't have a craphead owner like they did in Phoenix or a really bad arena situation like in Atlanta, it works. Hockey in Florida works. Hockey in the desert works. The Las Vegas desert, not the Phoenix desert. And the SPHL can work in Monroeville, Louisiana. And I think that's really cool.
I'm actually on the FPHL website right now because I was curious, looking up a couple of teams. There are some really cool team logos here. Sorry to kind of make it aside, but I'm gonna hold my phone up quickly here. You got
I knew it was gonna be the Rock Lobsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Benjamin, here's one for you and me. How about the Motor City Rockers?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But yeah, no, there's some wicked ones here. I will say though, Monroe, Louisiana, that one makes me uncomfortable. Nope.
Oh, the big snake.
Oh,
Yeah, nope. Although, to be fair, the fact they have someone on their team named Rasmus Asp, very fitting.
There you go. He's Erasmus. I'm surprised he ended up on the Sabres at some point.
It was actually it was unfortunate because he got waived a few games into the season, but at some point we had a player from and correct me if I'm saying this incorrectly, a First Nation in Canada, whose last name was Big Snake. And I was like,
There you go.
What better last name to have to play on the Monroe Moccasins than Big Snake?
Wow.
That rules.
That's really great.
It is perfect. The synergy.
Love to see it. Yeah, no, I had no idea this league existed. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. This rips. I'm as a fan of minor league baseball teams and logos, I say wearing a hat for the Hartford Yard Goats, I would buy merch for some of these teams for sure.
I mean, there's one not far from me, but it's in the United States, so I can't go right now.
Yeah.
But the Watertown Wolves, I'd go to an FPHL game. Why the hell not?
Exactly.
Yeah, the Rock Lobsters are another, I think, kind of our partner first-year team, but they've been, killing it. They're in the playoffs. We have played them 12 times this year, and we lost the first 11, but we got that 12th one.
That's the most important one.
Sometimes it's all about the ones you win.
It sounds like the plot of a Disney movie.
The snakes versus the rock lobsters. They finally overcome the rock lobsters.
In the last game of the season. They're just
good.
playing for pride. I love it.
Oh, it looks like, do they use a 3-2-1 point system in this league?
I believe
think-
so.
Okay, this is automatically a great hockey league. Screw the NHL.
3-2-1.
Screw the WHL. We don't need them. This is the new hot thing.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if the CHL switches to a 3-point system fairly soon.
All right, then they can come back.
There's a lot of pressure on it. I guess maybe we'll just close up this segment. I'm just going to ask Will, final thoughts. What would you rank the whole experience out of 10?
I would say probably a 10, honestly. Like, there's really nothing bad about it. Lots of potential fan interaction with players. Open practice was cool to see as somebody who had never seen any kind of hockey practice, honestly. St. Louis was cool. Venue was cool. Staff had it running well. It was a good time.
Awesome.
That's amazing. I'm glad you had a great time. And thank you for cheering the Charge on in person. It clearly worked because they got those big 3 points. And hey, Will, if you ever want to come to Ottawa for a game, let me know. I'll hook you up with a ticket.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, we would love to see more Charge fans in the arena. It gets pretty loud, though, so you gotta be careful.
I've seen.
It's great.
All right, well, thanks again. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, we're back, and we just want to say thanks so much for listening in. If you're having a great time, why don't you go ahead and click the thumbs up or 5-star button on your podcast platform of choice, or if you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button. Hang out with us on Discord, neutralzonehotel.com/Discord, and we would really appreciate it if you tell a friend about the podcast if you're having a good time. Just one person, just random person on your contact list. Fire it off. So, in NHL news this week, we got 2 pieces we want to talk about. I don't know. I guess we'll do Torts first, eh? So, longtime NHL coach, last couple of years coach of the Flyers, and forever just the most outspoken and blunt man in the game of hockey, John Tortorella, got fired at the end of a losing season late last week. There were several reports around this. He spoke quite frankly to the Toronto media after losing to the Maple Leafs about how this was, a losing season was not the kind of season that he was prepared to coach. I don't have the exact quote in front of me. And it's also turned out there's been some challenges with the players and likely with management. So it kind of built up pretty quickly, but not exactly surprising. Mm-hmm. What do we think about John Tortorella and his tenure in Philly, as well as his demise?
I have so many thoughts about John Tortorella and him getting fired as head coach with a mere 9 games left in the season. They decided they didn't want him to play that out. Yikes. I think that really indicates the fact that Briere was mad about something. That he didn't get that last 9 games. I really thought from all of the communication that I've heard coming out of Philadelphia over the last 2 years towards his tenure that he was their guy. Like they really seemed to. He wasn't hired by Briere. I believe he was hired before, But they were very supportive of keeping him around. They were talking like he was going to be the guy to bring them through the rebuild, that he was on board with that. And I think that hockey fans in general were a little bit confused that they would keep Tortorella on through a rebuild, because why would you do that? He is a coach renowned for getting every drop of blood out of a team. And if you are trying to finish last and get good high draft picks, why would you do that? Like last year, the team was objectively bad and they still barely missed the playoffs because he had them playing their asses off all year long. Now, this year, they could not save a puck to save their lives. They had zero goaltending, and that will absolutely sink a season. Ask me how I know. But he still had them playing their asses off, and they had a very much a losing season. And he is certainly a man renowned for not having any tact, who he's never met a filter. I
believe the way I put it was John Tortorella is the kind of man who would look his wife in the eye and say, "Yeah, you look fat in that."
Yeah. I mean, just what a guy, right? So it has been widely reported that he had what has been described as a verbal altercation. I would say it sounds like he had a blow-up fight with Cam York that happened just before the firing. And I think that the fight with York, wherein they said that they both crossed some lines, it sounds like this is what led to the firing, much more so than his remarks to Toronto media about not being prepared to coach a team at the bottom of the standings. York was subsequently York was sat for 50 minutes of a game, and then in the next game they made him dress and then sit on the bench the entire game, and they played with 5 defensemen because they did not have another defenseman to sub in for him, and they were not allowed to play shorthanded. So they made him sit on the bench the entire game, and that was the game after Tortorella was fired. So clearly things were at a breaking point with Tortorella and the team itself. Just a very odd situation and a little bit surprising. But at the end of the day, I don't think that Tortorella is gone from the NHL. I think he's going to get another job if he wants one.
He's 66 years old.
Spry. Young for an NHL head coach.
Well, and I mean, like, Torts is not a man who lacks in energy even at his age.
He's not.
So, go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah. John Tortorella is a coach that instills structure. He lives and breathes by it, and he will make his team live and breathe by it. And in a lot of cases, it can work out. Granted, you have just enough offensive firepower to carry you through and a solid brick wall on net. As you alluded to last season, they had that solid brick wall on net. But turns out if you're a sexual assaulting piece of crap, you kind of get kicked out of the league for a year or two. Tough break, but maybe next time do a little bit of research before you pick your goalie. Now, their goalies in this year, as you again mentioned, not the greatest, and that sucks. But the other problem right now, and why I don't think Tortorella would have been a good fit, is that he stifles creativity. And right now, the Philadelphia Flyers have one of the most creative prospects in the league right now in Matvei Michkov. And that is just never going to work. If you're going to And I know that Philadelphia is going to, in the next few years, elevate Michkov to be the player on on par with like a Kirill Kaprizov in Minnesota. You cannot have John Tortorella be that coach and stifle him the way he has been stifling him this year. Case in point, look at those first 2 games after Torts got fired, where Michkov scores like 4 goals. So
Counterpoint: John Tortorella should have stayed coach so that Lane Hudson has a better chance of winning the Calder.
yeah, I think he's fine.
It's too late. Michkov isn't going to win the Calder in the last 10 games of the season.
Michkov's maybe
joking,
third.
SJ. I was joking. Calm down. Be still.
Besides, we all know Hudson's
so-
not winning it anyway.
Yes, he is. So
It's going to be Dustin Wolf.
I was going to say
they're not going to make
celebrating.
the playoffs. That's the differentiator. Hudson's going to drag the Habs into the playoffs. That's the whole thing. So for John Tortorella, so first of all, he was hired by Chuck Fletcher, who is extremely bad at valuing what his team actually was, right? So Chuck Fletcher thought he had a team that was a borderline playoff team, and John Tortorella is the kind of guy who takes a borderline playoff team and makes it into a number 2 seed in your division. He takes bubble teams and makes them borderline, and he takes basement teams and ruins their tank. That's his skill set. He squeezes every drop out of the team. John Tortorella has also never missed the playoffs with the team twice in a row since his first 2 seasons coaching Tampa Bay. So, and he's never missed 3 with one team. He was technically was head coach of the Rangers for 4 games, but yeah. So Torts has never had 3 losing seasons in a row, or at least non-playoff seasons, even with Columbus. So he was not correctly picked for this team by Chuck Fletcher. I understand he is a coach who has a significant legacy, both with multiple teams and USA Hockey and the Vancouver Canucks, but we won't talk about that.
We've discussed that
covered it.
we've talked about that in a prior episode.
But he simply wasn't the man for the moment. And it should be of no surprise that as he recognized that he wasn't the man for the moment, that nothing he did was going to get this team to the playoffs. Of course he's going to get frustrated, and then he's just not going to be able to hold back because that's who he is. So I'm not surprised this happened. I'm actually a little surprised it didn't happen earlier. Maybe he is mellowing out in his old age.
I'm surprised that they traded Farabee and Frost at the deadline, even before the deadline, instead of recognizing that just because Torts didn't like those players, maybe they should have held on to him. Yeah, I'm really not sure what Briere was thinking with Farabee and Frost.
Mm-hmm. I concur. Well, I think that's a good chat, but we should talk about the TV deal. So Rogers, which is one of the major Canadian media companies and telcos, has re-upped their deal with the NHL for rights in Canada. So currently those rights are on the end of an expiring deal. Rogers will pay $7.7 billion United States or $11 billion Canadian to renew its current 12-year deal for another 12 years. This is more than double what was being paid beforehand in Canadian dollars. The current deal does not expire until the end of next season. Interestingly enough, Rogers shares dropped on this news. And that is likely because many people believe Rogers as a company is over leveraged in the TV department.
I heard there was so much complaining that the current deal, the deal they are on with the NHL, they overpaid for. Mm-hmm. And I was being told from all sides that the new deal that they would re-up but it would not be for a significant jump. And everybody was the talk going into this exclusive negotiation cycle was it would probably be about the same as it is now. So I was quite surprised that they made a significant jump in this national Canadian deal.
Mm-hmm. So a big portion of this is Rogers has committed to a huge amount of operational costs and capital costs over the last little bit, including buying out Bell Canada. So that's another one of Canada's big media telco companies. They're buying out Bell Canada's stake in Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, which will make them the majority owner of both the Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors. So that's a huge amount of money they're spending on that. And now they're committing to billions of dollars over the next 12 years for NHL rights. Interestingly here, even though we've heard that the costs were a disaster, a TD Cowen financial analyst, Vince Valentini, is quoted by B&M Bloomberg as saying Rogers incurred less than $3 billion, presumably US, in operating costs from the original deal. They recouped some of their money by selling a portion of their rights, including to TVA in Quebec to broadcast Habs games, and most recently to Amazon to broadcast games on Prime. So I wonder if that's kind of where they're thinking of seeing success, is in reselling more of the rights to other holders in Canada, which would certainly include TSN, RDS, and TVA. If TVA stays afloat, that's a whole other conversation that I'm kind of tracking. But also including the other major sports channel in Canada is TSN. So that would be the likely other, but additional streaming services, maybe. If Prime wants more, if Netflix wants some, do they start selling those rights in Canada to streaming services? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I was listening to The Sheet today, with Merrick and Greg Wyshynski, and one thing Wyshynski mentioned was that the current TV deal, it was actually backloaded. So their costs went up quite significantly, right in line with when they decided to sell those Monday night games to Amazon. So there's been nothing announced about whether the NHL can still sell other rights packages in Canada, but it seems like the plan is likely that Rogers will essentially sublet some of their weekday games. Amazon didn't jump into this pool with the intent of going away. So yeah, I expect they will at least continue to either grow through a deal with Rogers or by dealing with the NHL directly. And this is portentous for the U.S. rights, which are going to come up soon. Right now, they're split between ESPN and TNT, and I fully expect Amazon to bid for a piece of the U.S. rights pie, unless there's some kind of an exclusive negotiating window, and they basically make an offer that the NHL isn't ready to refuse.
In an economic time where the Canadian dollar is worth so little in comparison to what it has been over the last 10 years or so, and when those 7 teams in Canada make up such a majority of revenue still for the NHL,
25%.
Yeah, having that kind of TV deal, at least for the league, definitely helps ensure that growth, and especially with the cap going up as significantly as it is over the next few years, I'm sure that's going to help sublet that as well. But at least what I do hope is that I hope that Rogers realizes we're investing so much money into this. We should at least also then try and spruce up our product, because Sportsnet and their coverage has been semi-stagnant for the last 5 to 10 years. And especially after seeing how Amazon has, within a year, really done a number with just how good of a presentation you can do with like their different panels and whatnot, and just the presenting it as well. I really hope that Rogers takes some notes and can just improve their broadcasts. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy aspects of it, but it could be better.
So what you're saying, Trevor, is you want more Marc Messier on your TV?
Okay, not that.
I actually haven't seen Messier on a Amazon Prime game since like the first couple.
No,
he's not a regular guy. Yeah,
Smart.
but
Like,
one
see,
I think
Amazon is smart. They know how to cut dead weight.
Here's the thing that Amazon has done on their Monday night games that I think that Sportsnet could fix right now. They turn the crowd mics up. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. One thing I will push back on is when Sportsnet originally got the deal 10 years ago, they did attempt to do changes. They brought in George Strombolopoulos to be the host. They alternated up a lot of the panels. They changed, and there was significant outcry from Canadian viewership who wanted it to still be like Hockey Night in Canada. I strongly think that they're afraid of that type of impact again. And I don't think they should be. I think it is time to put certain Hockey Night in Canada hosts out to pasture.
Ron McLean.
Right? Well, I mean, I think Ron brings a lot of stuff to certain events. He's a great host for Hockey Day in Canada. He's very passionate about certain things, but I really don't need to hear him on every, broadcast intermission. I could do with less Elliot Friedman in my life, but that's never going to happen. But they have done a pretty good job bringing on other hosts as well. They've really highlighted a strong lineup of women throughout the years, and they have done a decent job finding really good prospects in the play-by-play and color areas. Hannah Ryan Singh, for example, is a Sportsnet hire.
Yep.
And Kelly Rudy is the one who brought him in and insisted they gave him a shot. And now he's by all accounts, the heir apparent for Chris Cuthbert. So I think that Sportsnet has changed more than we give them credit for. I think they're afraid of doing big changes because when they tried, it was a disaster. And I mean, at the end of the day, Sportsnet got rid of Don Cherry. And if they hadn't done that, he'd still be on TV. And I do not need more Don Cherry in my life.
Especially not right now. No.
I am going to make SJ watch the Jared Kiso TV movies where he plays Don Cherry. But that's more of a summer activity.
You know, I haven't seen these. I'll be down to watch those.
Yeah, they're bad.
I mean, yeah, but it's Jared Key, so I'm down to watch anything Jared Key.
Yeah, it's like a hagiography. It's fantastically bad. The old age makeup, especially playing old Don Cherry, is horrible. And I can't wait for you to see it.
Excellent.
Oh, no.
We love torturing SJ on this show. What can we say?
That's right. Any other thoughts on the TV deals?
Cap's going up.
Oh, that deal wasn't even calculated into the cap going up. So that is going to be quite a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Maybe they'll actually start paying players what they're actually worth.
Maybe.
What a concept.
I mean, we're still not in NBA salary ton.
No,
territory.
what was it? The highest paid player this year would be ranked like 129th in the NBA. Like, there's bench players in the NBA who make more than, what was it, Austin Matthews' is current leader this year? Yeah, wow. It's depressing.
It is worth noting, however, that NBA rosters are half the size of NHL rosters.
NHL, the average player salary is projected to be $11.9 million. So it is definitely a lot higher.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, we wanted to talk about the Western Hockey League, and there are two stories we wanted to talk about. The first is the Victory Plus deal, and I have no idea what this is. So someone's going to need to talk about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
SJ's dancing. This is all up to them.
So the Western Hockey League must have heard you talking about how the best way to get people to watch your product is to make it free, because the Western Hockey League has made their product free.
Ooh.
They are starting with the playoffs, which are happening right now. They are offering all WHL games are free on Victory Plus going forward. So Victory Plus made a lot of waves this year with the NHL deals. They are now they're carrying Anaheim Ducks and Dallas Stars games free in those markets. The WHL deal goes much farther. All WHL games are going to be free on Victory Plus, not geo-locked.
Wow.
You
That's
can
nice.
watch them from anywhere. So I listened to this great interview with the commissioner of the WHL, and he said that they were in a really great position because they really didn't have much in the way of local TV deals to stand in the way of this. And they went through essentially an experiment for the last year offering Wednesday night games free on YouTube. And what they found with their Wednesday night games on YouTube was that people watched them. I know, it's shocking. So they decided to move forward with this more of an advertising revenue model. Now, WHL broadcasts, it's not like an NHL broadcast. Sometimes they only have one person on commentary. It is much more like watching a bit of more of a radio broadcast, so they don't always have color. Like, the cameras are not always beautiful. There aren't a bunch of different camera angles and so on, but they are very functional broadcasts. You can watch the games and enjoy them. And as somebody who attends WHL games in person, I really appreciate that. I am my standards for like hockey playing that I enjoy may be a little bit lower than people who only watch pro hockey. But the WHL is such a great league right now, especially because of all of the incredible talent coming up in it. People like Landon Dupont and Gavin McKenna, Connor Bedard came up through the WHL. So I am just super excited for people being able to watch WHL games on Victory Plus. You can watch my beloved Everett Silvertips.
That was the question. See, the QMJHL should do this so it can tell everyone to watch the Halifax Mooseheads, who, despite being 8th seed in their conference, they were the 9th seed in their conference because of the way it balanced out, are beating the top team in the league 2-0 in the first round. So hockey is a weird and stupid sport, once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. And you should never count on a group of teenage boys to do anything for you.
I mean, as someone whose NHL team has been so depressing that I threw on at the Halifax Mooseheads versus Drummondville Voltigeur overtime while simultaneously streaming the Everett Silvertips and Seattle Thunderbirds game. It was great fun. And also, like, this is also great for me. Even though I live in basically prime WHL markets, I don't cheer for my hometown team. Screw the Vancouver Giants. Well, I mean, I'll cheer for them over a lot of teams, but not. I will not cheer for them over a team that lives 4 hours away from me. Go Kamloops. Now I have a way to go watch the Blazers.
That's right.
Go the Blazers. That's right.
I mean, I could drive and go stay at my parents' place, but who wants to go stay with their parents? Ew.
It depends upon whether mom's cooking for me.
It is really good. But
I am a fan of the Halifax Mooseheads, and I will go to 67's games because they're there, and sometimes they have $2 hot dog nights, and sometimes they have wiener dog races.
Yes.
You also live pretty close to Gatineau, so you always have the Olympiques as well.
I've gone to 3 Olympics games this year, one of which was against my beloved Halifax Mooseheads. Mooseheads lost.
Shout outs to the first hockey week in Canada. It was like,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we went and saw the Mooseheads.
that was the only game where
And-
you and I cheered for opposing teams.
That's right.
But
that's
hey,
right.
I came home entertained no matter what. I just wanted to watch good hockey.
I'm very curious to see if we see more teams moving into this sort of distribution model. Simply getting eyes on the product and drawing in merchandise sales, fans, and ad revenue seems to be more critical than actual TV deals at this level. And I think that is really fascinating.
I kind of wonder if the PWHL success has kind of contributed to this, because they streamed pretty much every game in that first season on YouTube. And yeah, it helped when you could advertise we have the best women all over playing in our league, excuse me. But again, having that broadcasted for free on YouTube and seeing how many eyes went to that product and how big it's now seemingly gotten, I really do hope, not only wonder, but I do hope that a lot of leagues saw that and be like,
I think it's all a symptom of the collapse of the traditional cable TV RSN model, which has just been absolutely destroyed by streaming. I think a lot of these gate revenue leagues in the WHL, the CHL is certainly a gate revenue league. They realize they're leaving money on the table with the current pay models. People are just not willing to pay, $100 a year for, or I'm not even sure how much it costs, $30 a month or hundreds of dollars a year to watch a junior team when they're already paying for, 6 other streaming services. People budget. They have to make decisions. So if they're going to make money through these TV, through, people watching their games, not at the game, they're going to have to do it through advertising. And I think that's just coming back.
All right. Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that. It's really interesting to see the decentralization of it. So, one final piece of news, again with the Western Hockey League. The Western Hockey League has announced that they will expand. So, expansion has been a bit of a hot topic following the NCAA allowing players who play for the CHL to go to university in the United States and play as if they had not been a pro. Basically, they've been counting it as a pro league. And this has led directly to the seeming collapse of the British Columbia Hockey League. The British Columbia Hockey League had been where the Penticton Vs, which is going to be the first team we talk about, that had been where they had been playing. The Vs were one of the top teams, and the BCHL's purpose was to funnel Canadian talent to the NCAA by bypassing the CHL. So it has been announced that effective next year, the Penticton Vs will join the WHL, and Chilliwack, which is a town, small city in British Columbia, will be getting an expansion franchise in 2026, 2027. And this is the first time the CHL has grown since 2007. So I know there are some thoughts on that, and I would love to hear them.
So first, I do want to read the BCHL's statement about this expansion move by the WHL. And I do think that reports of their demise are a little bit premature. It's not a dead league yet. But here's what they had to say. The BCHL acknowledged today that ownership of the Penticton Vs franchise has acquired a Western Hockey League expansion team beginning in 2025 to 2026. The current ownership will maintain their BCHL membership and will look to relocate the franchise in the near future. In addition, the city of Chilliwack and the WHL announced today that they have identified Chilliwack as an expansion location for the 2026-27 season. The Chiefs organization, who had no involvement in the city's WHL expansion process, remains committed to the BCHL and has already formally indicated they will play in the league in 2025-26, expressing their commitment beyond that as well. So it's very interesting to me that the ownership of the Penticton Vees has decided to retain their BCHL team. They're going to relocate it, but they're also getting a WHL team. This is a bit different than what recently happened down here in the U.S. division with the Wenatchee Wild. So the ownership of the BCHL Wenatchee Wild purchased the Winnipeg Ice WHL franchise and relocated the Winnipeg Ice to Wenatchee, Washington, where they renamed them the Wenatchee Wild. And they then, if they dissolved their BCHL Wenatchee Wild, releasing their BCHL players to move on to other teams. So apparently this is quite different than what happened then. I've heard, I did want to mention that because people keep talking. I keep having people talk like this is what happened with the Wenatchee Wild, and it's totally not. The Wenatchee Wild was not an expansion franchise, for one thing, and the BCHL team was dissolved. This is an expansion, and the BCHL team is being relocated. It just bugs me when people get these things wrong.
So I do want to touch on both teams and cities that were picked. We'll start with Penticton because the Penticton Vees, at least in terms of keeping that name, is one that retains a lot of history because they've existed in some way, shape, or form since 1961 through different iterations of Penticton hockey and different iterations of the league. But the Penticton Vees have been a mainstay through the different iterations of the BCHL and are one of its more successful franchises. So in order to keep that name, I think that really helps like that community purpose and community idea of who it's still going to be, and maybe even helping to retain their history, because going through some of their alumni, I'm going to list off some names. I want to tell you if you guys have heard of them. They've played for Penticton junior teams in ways, shapes, or forms. Andy Moog, Ray Ferraro, Brett Hull,
Yep.
Duncan Keith, Paul Correa, Ryan Johansson. These are all players out of like 40 some odd players who have gone on to the NHL in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, Penticton's just got so much history, so it's really encouraging to see them keep the Vs, but I also am very glad to hear that ownership is still wanting to keep that BCHL team and give it give it life elsewhere, while still allowing Penticton to maintain that history with a new WHL team. And now over to Chilliwack. As someone whose first ever WHL experience was in Chilliwack, because Benjamin, you mentioned that the last expansion in CHL was 2007, which, if I remember correctly, is when Chilliwack got its first expansion team.
That's right. Yep.
The Chilliwack Bruins, and let me tell you, it felt real dirty to cheer for a team named the Bruins. But yeah, the Chilliwack Bruins, they weren't great. They only lasted a handful of years before they moved to Victoria, to what are now the Victoria Royals. And as a fun aside, out of the first 4 WHL games I saw, all of them involved that franchise in some way, shape, or form, and I think I only cheered for them once, maybe twice.
There you go.
Yeah. The first time I saw the Giants, it was against the Royals. The first time I saw the Blazers was against the Royals. The first time I saw the Bruins, if I remember correctly, was against the Kootenay Ice, who became the Winnipeg Ice, who became the Wenatchee Wild, just to tie that all together. But Chilliwack actually has a really solid little rink in the middle of town there. The Prospera Center holds a few thousand people. It's pretty nice from what I remember. So I'm glad that Chilliwack is getting that opportunity again, because you got the Giants in Langley, which is all well and good for like the Metro Vancouver folks. But beyond that, the Fraser Valley is really empty when it comes to junior hockey in that sense. And there's a decent amount of people out there. Like Abbotsford, Chilliwack alone is about 150, 200,000 people. So there could definitely be support.
The Chilliwack Chiefs, which are the current BCHL team, have been decently successful. And the one thing that the WHL commissioner said on his interview, on this interview I listened to, was that he feels that leaving Chilliwack in 2011 was a mistake, and that they are trying to rectify that mistake. Because the Chiefs have kind of had it all on their own. For those who may not be familiar, the BCHL is very much an outlaw league. They're not sanctioned by Hockey Canada. And they were essentially wielding their NCAA eligibility in the past as leverage against Hockey Canada to kind of undermine the CHL in many ways and try to get a lot of Hockey Canada's policies changed. The fact that the NCAA is now accepting CHL players really neuters the BCHL's leverage with Hockey Canada. And I think this is one of the things that happened immediately after the NCAA CHL change was two USHL teams requesting to join the OHL, which USA Hockey shut down. They won't let them leave, essentially. BCHL doesn't have the protection of a national organization like the USHL does. So they are very much out on their own here, and they are kind of at the mercy of the WHL in this way. So I'm not shocked that the Penticton Bees ownership has decided to kind of throw in with the CHL on this side, because at the end of the day, they are there to make, these are revenue generating organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I found interesting was the official announcement from the WHL mentioned the owner of the Penticton franchise, Graham Fraser, who appears to be a wealthy businessman in the region, who will share partnership with Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets, Mike Richter, and local Penticton businessmen Joe Walters and Gord Kovacic, maybe? I don't know. Sorry, Gord. Sorry. However, like SJ noted earlier, the BCHL team, the BCHL says that Bees ownership retains its membership in the BCHL. So I'm wondering if there are other owners who are involved and they didn't want to go. It seems like it's one guy maybe pushing the whole thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's interesting. The V's are a historic team, and moving them to the BCHL is a huge get for moving the WHL is a huge get for that organization. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I also think that we are going to see more expansion across the CHL. The OHL is going to expand. Probably the QMJHL is going to expand. The WHL is just doing it first.
Yeah, and especially in markets that suit it, because as I alluded to earlier, the Fraser Valley needs it. The Okanagan has also been very left out of the WHL, so Penticton's just a perfect team, perfect spot for that. You know what? Sorry, as an aside, you know what? I have actually been to a Chilliwack Chiefs game before. Now that I remember it, because it's one earlier hockey memory. This is like 2004 or something like that. But the reason I remember it's because one of the coolest hockey things I've ever seen happened at that game, where a player hit another one into the boards and broke the glass.
Nice.
Oh,
nice.
That's not supposed to happen.
It was cool.
Classic glass break. Let's go.
Oh yeah, you don't see those very often anymore.
No, usually the glass is a lot better now.
Pop. Got a huge pop from the crowd.
Oh, I bet.
All it needed after that was Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme, but
I'm really curious. I know that there's been a lot of pressure on USHL teams to not move to the OHL. I'm really curious to see how that turns out in the end. Mm-hmm. And it feels like this is the first of what could be quite a few migrations.
Yeah, I expect the entire junior hockey landscape to essentially remake itself in the next few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting time to be paying attention. But as long as...
I just want to know what's going to happen to the USNDTP.
I mean, we could be in a situation in the next couple of years where the USNDTP has to join the Ontario Hockey League.
I don't think that's going to happen.
If the quality of competition goes down in the USHL, it might.
I don't think the OHL would be cool with it.
Oh no, they wouldn't. But there could be strong arming from USA Hockey, and if they made it a condition of allowing in teams like the Chicago Steel.
It'd be interesting. I have to imagine there's going to be some kind of negotiation.
I would think so, but the national development team has done such a great job developing players. If the quality of competition in the USHL drops significantly, the capacity of that team to grow those players will equally drop, because it's only by having quality competition that they're able to make that team go.
Yes, but the USNTDP has not drafted players. They do not go through a draft.
No, they're handpicked.
They are handpicked, and that would break allowing in a team that is allowed to handpick the best players from across the United States into CHL would just completely break the parity model, CHL. the OHL's parity model. Yep. So,
but then again, it's very similar to what it does in the USHL as well.
Regardless, the CHL is more invested in it.
It'll be really interesting to see what happens, because you have to think that they want what they can steal out of the USHL. But that's allowing that to occur is going to be the big cherry on the cake. I would like to see, I mean, even if they don't participate in the playoffs, have them as a touring team that goes around the whole CHL. I would love to see that.
That would be funny.
It'd be great. Kind of like, and there should be a Canada versus USNDTP championship or cup every year. Do it. Put your best boys together and make them face off.
Sorry, I'm just picturing the USNDPT team versus like a Harlem Globetrotter style. You know what? You got the perfect opponent. You got the Oshawa Generals.
There you go. I get it. I got the joke.
I didn't get it.
And he's referring to the Harlem Globetrotters and how they always face the Washington Generals.
Oh. Basketball.
All right, well, you know what? On that failed joke, maybe we will call it a show. So, hey, everybody, thanks so much for listening to the Neutral Zone Hotel, which is written, hosted, and produced by us, the Neutral Zone Hotel crew. You can find out more at neutralzonehotel.com/Discord if you want to join our Discord. We are on Instagram, Bluesky, and YouTube at Neutral Zone Hotel. You can email us at feedback@neutralzonehotel.com. Give us 5 stars, thumbs up, smash the like button, whatever it is to show that you had a great time. And hey, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you very soon.